So, hi everyone, we're going on in our marathon in talking about obviously the bases that I personally believe that are like one of the most, in terms of accountability, they have the most portion of accountability to that can be attributed when we're talking about base decision makings that goes to turn in bad outcomes in whatever field we're talking about in your life, whatever it is in work, whatever it is in your family, or whatever it is as well in wealth, in health. And then, so what's going to be the base that we're going to talk about today is going to be the dehumanization base. Why we treat people like objects sometimes. That's a beast that probably we have to get in count because it's the beast that influences the relationships that we have today. That's one of the most fields that people most want to have prosperity because we like to get friends, families, and we need connections, network to have prosperity, whatever it is, job, family, whatever it is your satisfaction of need, where then we try to do. Then so, question to you to try to understand if you've kind of faced with this or not. Have you ever felt that some people don't deserve the same level of empathy or compassion as others? Probably you're gonna answer yes. That's the humanation bees at play. These bees make us see certain people as less human, leading to negative stereotypes and unfair treatment. But why does it happen and how we can overcome it? That's so where we should put attention on. So, definition: diminution bees occurs when we perceive other ones as less than human, often viewing them as objects or animals rather than people. The bees leads to treating individuals with less respect, empathy, or fairness. And then so is the best definition that we can do. Then now let's go talk about examples to even exemplify better. Stereotyping marginalized groups. That's like where these bees were discovered is by seeing it the relations between marginalized groups and the normal society that normally so is taught in that way. For example, people in poverty or refugees are sometimes portrayed as lazy or inferior instead of as individuals with unique circumstances. The kind of thinking strips away their humanity and allows others to justify unequal treatment. And obviously, without having a type of being based in political wise, the reality is that it's something that people tend to see. They tend to see people there, mainly the poverty. People see poverty as the blame that we have to blame other ones because they're unilaterally they kind of have less ability to behave, to perform, so they have to be treated as inferior to other ones. While obviously, and specifically talking about poor, we have the different. What's the creates poor? Poor is the ability to manage wealth, and how we manage wealth and create health is generation of revenue and managing our costs, always, and trying to maximize differentiation with between revenue and costs, obviously trying to make it the revenues much more higher than the costs are, and obviously to build health as much so quantity of times I'm able to make a positive differential in terms of revenues in comparison with the costs. So wealth is created in that way. But reality is that these lot of companies, the majority of these, I even will say it and talk about in the book, The Outliers of Malcolm Gladwell, that we tend to overrate it in this as well as bees. We tend to overrate our paper in the some specific type of outcomes that we have in our life. Uh, the how power is or how determinant is certain characteristics has skills that have so how important they were to generate our success, because we tend to attribute things that are coming from us, things that I have like spent time to forge, things that are naturally gifted with. I tend to overrate how much they're important in comparison with the circumstances that I have included, and realize that when I input the accountability of some specific outcomes from things that are like people don't like it because it thinks that's bad. It's kind of cause effect that I'm bad. I generate so the bad outcome that I meet. Well, some of the poors they were like naturally they have more diseases. They had like hadn't ability to have access and time to get education as other ones. They didn't have the help of parents that gave us time to kind of explore what they didn't like, and it's something that people are beast because assuming said that we have look and then so it's not something that we do like, and it's something that's so served to me as by kind of undervaluing the importance of circumstances, the helps, the external factors that I've present and I have said, because it's something that helps me too. If I underlook what I can so overlook to fully find the space of what is accountability for the success potentially that I'm gonna have in your life, is assuming that the skills that I have and I had developed and I have time to do it. While for other ones it's well useful undervaluing these external factors, because so I can make attributions by him being interesting, not having ability, not having intelligence to forge and making them better. So basically these type of bees as well can sometimes can come with these other bees that is undervaluing external factors, overrating interior factors, and normally interior factors in more more kind of like attached with me as the person, and is a bit more sensitive, and that's so when it's attacked we have so a more we it's like a bit more bad, and people don't like it, other than just saying that people have bad look. But sometimes even was a paper the look is like a biggest factor to a bad outcome that we had in life. And then so sometimes these poor people are treated bad, are treated like in a worse way, and that's where so this perception of you that I've talked about, some of the people that seem that equality is something that has to pay a paper in our society. And that's why so we have emerged so this perception and did hold behaviors then, for example, the left side of the policies have been developed because of this pillar to perception of trying wholly to equilibrate the society. So stereotyping marginalized groups, making and attributing the bad outcomes that they have present with things that are intrinsically bad for him instead of situations of the context they are present. Other example, in war and conflicts, in times of war, it's common for groups to demonize their enemies to justify violence or mistreatment. That's something that happens, it's something that's really actual, and you have a lot of examples happening today. Soldiers might see enemy soldiers not as humans with families and hopes, but as faceless threats. This helps reduce the psychological barriers to killing or harming others. That's something that happens a lot, and all and every one of the people understand that's something that happens. When we're more susceptible, when we suffer as well with how to group Bs, we're more likely to humanize people who belong to a different group, race, culture, nation. That's something that, again, we see a lot. Fear and threat. When we feel threatened, we might view this who pose a danger to us as less human to justify our defensive actions. We see a lot. Dehumanizing language. Using labels like criminals, animals, or illegals makes it easier to treat people unfairly. That's something that we see a lot. Media representation. The way the media portrays certain groups can influence how we see them, often reducing them to stereotypes. We see it a lot as well. So now that probably is one of the bees that we see more happening today, justifies wars, justifies this type of not wars between nations, but between wars in the interior of a country, between race, cultures, immigrants, migrants. We see it a lot, and this comes from two sides, being and falling a bit off from being more specific. What is like the matter that we most discuss today? Migrants or immigrants? People will say it and give this video that probably they will more apply to native towards the immigrants, label them as bad. But this as well goes the other side, labeling the migrants, the native, as people that they want and they're not inclusive, and labeling a lot of words that people know what are these words. And then this comes for people, doesn't exist some ones that have and apply these bees, and while other ones are like angels. Not doesn't doesn't exist angels. So it comes from both ways. This is this type of perception of on the ability to dehumanize others based if something that's we feel more comfortable by doing it. And then so what you have to focus is try to overcome it. And how we overcome it, the dehumanization beast. Focus on individuality. So instead of following stereotypes, understanding that people, even having all these characteristics, understand it exists, exists less variability between races, nations than we people tend to think. If it's if I would have to attribute something that I think I would assume that as can have a stereotype is cultures. Culture is something that I attribute that people that live in different cultures are things that so we can see that people tends to be more different to culture. But between nations, people that have like different races but born in the same culture, they don't tend to have like different type of things. They cannot like exist labels between them that have to be different. The type of things that's a bit more justified is the cultures. Culture is something that is really mainly in humans. Then we're born to have and have plasticity from the situation that I'm included on. Culture is what we have to get in count, and that's why I will say that some of the solutions for some conflicts is trying to create a culture. Then people, the majority of the world, will respect it because culture is what again I attribute that is the thing that most create difference between the way that the humans are instead of, and this is something that's external, the culture that I'm present, instead of things that naturally people are like races, people and nations. It's like the biggest difference is cultures. And then even saying that, some cultures I will say that we have like a higher probability to build stereotypes because cultures creates masses of humans that tend to have particulars in common. We have to focus yet in individuality instead of seeing groups or categories. Remind yourself that each person has their own story, emotions, and humanity, and sometimes even coming people from their group culture. Some cultures that are present, they seem can be different. Practice empathy, obviously. Put yourself in the shoes of others, especially those different from you, and imagine their experience. That's something that's really, it's really good. Like, what's probably the people that you most like? Probably your parents. What is the best way to not treat your ones as bad as you probably are prone to do it? Imagine the parents of other ones and what they would feel if they didn't knew that their children was and were having that bad treatment that you're about to do to other one. It's like one of the best ways to feel guilty if you're gonna do something that's not justified uh, by feeling like a feeling that is not justified, a feeling of evil. So challenge stereotypes, recognize when you're using generalizations or negative levels, and replace them with more accurate humanizing perspectives, and promote inclusivity. It's better because more type of integrity that creates between people is because they're not like they're not. It's like common for them to have been exposed to peoples that are different to them and that have like the skill of the adaptivity and ability to have so interactions with other ones was not something that was forged since the children. That's where we have more plasticity and ability to learn, and skill tolerance is a skill that we can develop. So I expect this video helped you for your life develop this skill, and I expect you as well to help me by subscribing and seeing the other videos to make it a better person. So see you in the next one.